Was it the greatest wild card weekend ever? Or was it really close games that came down to the wire between a bunch of teams that aren't that good? Just let that marinate. And with that, welcome to a Monday edition, a Monday after Wild Card Weekend with still one more game to play edition of Inside Coverage on Yahoo. The how and the why, any and everything you need to know about the National Football League. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Again, hope you had a fantastic weekend with friends and and family and maybe a cold beverage and some sunshine. If you're living in a part of the world where there is sunshine, lucky for me, I am. We're happy to be here. We're happy. I'm thrilled that Jori Epstein is here. I'm thrilled that Frank Schwab is here and that you, everyone listening and watching, are here because that was fun. This is always the weekend for me where I don't go to a game, unless like the Rams are in the playoffs and I'm here, but where I sit on the couch and I marvel at how the average NFL fan does this all day on Sunday, like 3 games all day, just being inert and eating and drinking. But the games were so entertaining. Like, I wanted more football. We'll get more football Monday night. Hi, Jori. How are you?
I am doing great, Andrew. Freshly back from Philadelphia, where the 49ers and Eagles had quite the game. So we made it back. We're on the show, and I'm excited to hear what y'all think about it.
And plenty to unpack there. Hi, Frank Schwab. How was your chicken wing-filled weekend? Even though you were at home, I assume you still got chicken wings.
I did not get chicken wings, but chicken wings sound good right now. I'll be back. I'll just cook some up. No, it was great. And not only, Andrew, do I think this was the greatest wild card weekend ever, I think this was the greatest single round of NFL playoffs in its history.
Ever?
Like, just the stats alone. Yes, the most games decided by 4 or fewer points, the most lead changes we've had in a single round of the playoffs, just every superlative you can come up with. The fact that the first 3 games, a team winning at the 2-minute warning ended up losing the game. Just fantastic football. Yes, unbelievable. Just unbelievable set of games.
So I have some of those numbers you just laid out. Let me lay out some of these numbers that Frank, it's just the specifics here. 4 of the 5 games featured a team that won after trailing in the final 3 minutes. There were 12 fourth quarter lead changes over the weekend, which already, before the Steelers game, the Steelers and the Texans on Monday night, that's already the most fourth quarter lead changes in a single postseason of all time. Not a weekend, not a round, but a single postseason in NFL history. Ever. There were 5 fourth quarter touchdowns, which was the most fourth quarter touchdowns in any round in NFL playoff history. And there were 26 fourth down conversion tries, which was the most in any round since at least 2000 when they started keeping track of these things. So yeah, it was wild, including the game that Jori was at. Let's get to that one. In Philadelphia, where the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy marched down the field and they stole the souls of the defending Super Bowl champions. And yet again, there will not be a repeat Super Bowl winner from the NFC. The last NFC team to repeat as Super Bowl champion was the 1993 Dallas Cowboys. For Brock Purdy, it was his 4th career game-winning drive in the 4th quarter or in overtime in the postseason. That's more now than Joe Montana. And for the Eagles, they have to figure out what the heck to do, and they might have to blow up one side of the ball. First time Nick Sirianni has ever lost at home in the postseason. This number, Jori, this number blows me away, and it speaks to the Eagles' I don't want to say offensive ineptitude, but offensive issues. So the Eagles were +2 in the turnover margin, and they had 65 more yards on the ground than the 49ers. The previous 132 teams that were +2 or more in the turnover margin and had 50 or more rushing yards than the other team had never lost in the playoffs, ever. 132-0. But Nick Sirianni's Eagles lost. Before we play A.J. Brown from November, give me your 2 cents on what you saw.
Yeah, for the sixth time this season, the Eagles did not have a touchdown in the second half. And I mean, Saquon Barkley said it, Jordan Mailata said it. They're like, this is the same story. And we're telling you that because why is anyone surprised? It was kind of this feeling that, yes, Philadelphia is talented enough as a team. We've seen them do this, that had they made it to the Super Bowl and won, I would not have been surprised. They had the talent to do that. But I also didn't think it was a surprising outcome that this undermanned, resilient, lost George Kittle after they'd already lost so many of their stars, San Francisco 49ers team were like, oh, you're not going to play in the second half? Great, well, we'll get you. And I don't mean that there wasn't effort. I think that it's easy to lead to some of these conclusions, but I do think there was a sense in the Eagles locker room when I was there post-game that the 49ers are like, okay, we'll load the box and we're going to make it harder for you to run the ball and we're going to make it so you're in more third and long situations in the second half. And the Eagles did not adjust. And I was talking to a coach in the league on today and I'm like, is this actually a thing? Because sometimes I don't know whether we're overblowing the idea of halftime adjustments. And the coach who's been on quite a few different teams who would have had this responsibility was like, no, it's legit because you start coming into a game with a plan, you feel the rhythm, and then you have to say, oh, based off the rhythm, here's the direction I need to go. So you're not blowing up your plan, but you are shifting it in one direction. And if you don't listen to that and follow that, you end up with a team like the Eagles where I still think it's a different feeling, and I know we'll get to it after we get to A.J. Brown, but I was in that Tampa locker room 2 years ago, or the Tampa visitors locker room, when Eagles lost in the wild card round between their two Super Bowl appearances. That was a team to me that was frustrated and that was fractured. I didn't get that sense this year, but I think this was a disappointed team and a little bit of a team that was kind of like, we knew this was coming and we still couldn't stop it.
Yeah, they knew it was coming and they couldn't stop it. It's been telegraphed. The best unit on the field, if you take the 4 units, or take special teams out of it, and the Eagles had their special teams issues. Certainly yesterday, you take special teams out of it, the Eagles defense was by far the best unit on the field, at least talent-wise. They could have been able and should have been able to win this game. They could not. Before we play A.J. Brown, it's a long one. Frank, your 2 cents from where you sit.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised, but it still is surprising to see the Eagles, with all of the talent they have on offense, have an absolutely unwatchable offense. There's going to have to be changes, obviously, on that side of the ball, coaching staff-wise. I do wonder, does A.J. Brown get traded? Everybody was trading him last night. Everybody's like, well, what's A.J. Brown's next team? But there's salary cap ramifications involved with that. So I don't know necessarily. I don't know what the Eagles do, because you look at the roster and you say, you can make a very clear argument. This is the best roster in the NFL. So you don't blow it up. Like, you don't completely start over. But the way this Eagles season ended, I thought it was a great comparison between the teams yesterday. And Jori, you alluded to it. The 49ers have this tough mentality, this mindset of, we're just going to find a way. We don't got George Kittle anymore. Okay, that sucks, but we're going to find a way to get this done. They've been doing that all season. The way they dealt with adversity is so admirable. It's fantastic. And the way that Eagles dealt with adversity is basically going into a shell. I don't want to say they didn't quit. I don't think the effort was bad, like you said, but there was this just cloud hanging over the Eagles all year where you just felt like they looked like they were miserable the whole season, like they weren't having any fun whatsoever, and they weren't playing well on offense, obviously, and it just that they never got out of that fog. And I don't know what to do. If you're Howie Roseman, yeah, you're going to make a change offensive coordinator, all that kind of stuff. But what do you really do? You look at this roster and you say, how on earth were we so bland? How on earth were we so unexplosive on offense? I just don't know the solution there. It's very hard to figure out.
They're stagnant on offense. I think some of it, and I don't think this is a hot take, but I don't know that enough people are saying it. I think a lot of it is the quarterback. I truly do. And there are people that know a lot more football than me say the same thing. Chris Sims on NBC hammered it a couple of weeks ago, hammered it again today, said Jalen Hurts limits them, right? He leaves clean pockets. He doesn't want to run anymore. He's throwing outside the numbers only, not inside the numbers, although to be fair, A.J. Brown dropped the ball inside the numbers. There was another one that kind of threw a medicine ball up to Devontae Smith, but he could not hang on to the final play of the game. You're running 4 verts, and the back stayed in, and Michael Kendricks now can drop 4 verts and through the middle of the field and obviously knock that down. There was no window there to throw. I want to go back to November, as mentioned, because A.J. Brown, after doing that Twitch stream in which he said, I wouldn't play me on fantasy and like this whole thing's a mess and we have to fix it now, went to his locker the next day, open locker room in Philadelphia, and in essence said, I'm not going to apologize. We all know we have a problem, and just hoping it goes away ain't going to change anything. Take a listen.
I think if we're really focusing on winning and doing our job, like, we can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over defense doing their job and getting us out of trouble. Like, at what point are we going to pick up our slack as an offense that we're so great, you know? And that's what I'm getting at. It's not about we're not winning or I don't care about winning. All I care about is stat. No, it's been week after week sometimes. We're not contributing. We're not doing our job on offense. So you can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over that and you expect to win late in the year. You think you're going to go to it at the end of the year. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, and last year, what it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. They adapted. We have to adapt, and we have to continue to, like, get better and try to find new ways. So that's where the frustration comes in.
Nobody in that building is going to, at least on the record, throw Jalen Hurts under the bus. And I want to be very clear. I'm not saying he is the only issue. He is not. But to sit here and overlook the fact or ignore the fact or sugarcoat the fact that he is part of the problem, I think is short-sighted. I think he is part of the problem. I've had people around the league tell me they think Howie Roseman was going to try to trade him in the offseason. Now, this is speculation, and it may not be informed speculation. It's spitballing here. But Howie is, if he's anything, he's bold. All right, he's not afraid to shake things up. Contractually, I don't know that they can do it. They owe the guy $100 million in cash. You might be, quote unquote, stuck with a guy that a year ago won the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, first world problems. First world problems. Some teams would take him, some teams wouldn't. And if you get rid of him, then what do you do? Is it Tanner McKee? Is it Malik Willis? Who knows what it is? But I'm just going to say, I'm not predicting a trade at all. Nothing would surprise me in Philadelphia this offseason, other than Nick Sirianni being pushed out. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Nothing would surprise me, because if Howie is anything, Jori, you know this, he's aggressive and he is not afraid to do things that nobody could see coming.
Yeah, Andrew, we definitely don't see eye to eye on this one, because I think that there's the Howie Roseman element, which is that Howie can be unpredictable and you never know what's coming from him. So I'm not doubting Howie's ability to explore this. But I think in addition to the cap charge, when Howie looks around, this is an Eagles team firmly in their window, and Jalen Hurts is the quarterback that gives them the best chance to maximize on that window. You still have on defense one of the better defenses in the league with some rookie contracts on defense. Now you don't, and that's how you're able to afford your expensive offense. I don't feel like Jalen Hurts is the crux of the problem. Look, this is a team where offense went poorly so many times that everyone is part of the problem. But I don't know that I view this as one player. I think it's interesting that we don't root for people to lose their jobs in this industry. But when you look at history to try and understand the likelihood that someone comes back, 2 years ago, in between the Eagles Super Bowl runs, they fired Brian Johnson after the offense was 7th in scoring and 8th in yardage. They were 7th and 8th again last year when they won the Super Bowl, and this year they dropped to 19th and 24th. There are multiple reasons for that, and the Lane Johnson at right tackle absence is definitely one I think a lot about from a winning standpoint, because the numbers when Lane is on the field versus off the field in terms of how often the Eagles win are just an insane split. It's something like 70% to 30% in terms of how often they win. That said, if you're Kevin Petula, whether it's fair or not, you are the variable. The rest of the cast was largely the same. Doesn't really matter if they were tired from that. So I think it's important to note that the players in the locker room on Sunday night were much less willing to blame Kevin than I might have expected. I didn't think they'd throw him under the bus, but I thought they'd be like, oh, we need change, or I don't really know. Like Jalen Hurts on Monday did have this message of it's too soon to think about that, and that's a decision I trust Howie and Nick, and maybe he said Jeffrey Lurie as well with. But the rest of the players, like Jordan Mailata raised his voice to tell us as the left tackle, it would be very unfair to blame Kevin Petullo. And he goes, when you look at coaches and you look at us, we're the ones on the field. We're the ones making more money. We should be taking the responsibility. And Devonta Smith at receiver, he goes, look, it's our responsibility to pick up the offensive coordinator, the coordinator's responsibility to pick us up. For us to say that it is on someone else, like that is too easy and simple of an explanation. And I think I would feel the same way about the quarterback. One, it's cost prohibitive. Two, he was Super Bowl MVP 11 months ago, and that was not a fluke. Like, Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. And I think that if people around the league are believing, hey, he bails the pocket too early, or he just not seeing the field so well, which I agree there are some people who say that, I would say, first of all, I don't know that that's always Jalen Hurts. And second of all, well, why don't you get a coach who is going to coach him on these things and maximize his strengths and find ways to work with Jeff Stoutland, their offensive line coach, who's basically paid like a coordinator, so that you can have the run game and Jalen and the offensive line all working to maximize it. I think that when Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers coach, said on Sunday, we knew we weren't going to come in here as individuals and win. We had to be a complete team. Oftentimes that feels like it is just a cliche. But to me, the difference in the two teams on Sunday was that the 49ers might have had less talent on the field, but they played together as a team. And the Eagles felt, especially on the offensive side of the ball, like a collection of individuals who were talented and could not put the whole thing together.
Yeah, and the 49ers were far, far, far better coached. I mean, let's give Kyle Shanahan, everybody. He's doing an unbelievable job. I agree with points both of you made. I do think Jalen Hurts had a bad year, like just was not good all year. But also to Jori's point, what do you do? How's that actionable? Okay, Jalen Hurts didn't play well. Are you getting better without him? Because who's your quarterback then? Look, Tanner McKee's looked awesome in the preseason. There's a lot of guys who look awesome in the preseason and become the most popular guy in town. It's number 2 quarterback and then don't really work out once you play them a lot. I don't know if I was in a Super Bowl window if I would say, yep, we got to cut ties with Jalen Hurts and go to Tanner McKee. Not only that, but Jori, you mentioned it, you might not be able to afford that. You might literally not be able to do that under the cap. So I don't know what you do. Like, if you do identify, hey, Jalen Hurts was not good this year, and he definitely was not. I don't know how that really affects 2026 because you're stuck. I don't think there's another option here. I think you have to make it work with Jalen Hurts, and that starts with coaching. I think you need a more creative offensive coordinator. Look, Dan Orlovsky had about a 4-minute breakdown of the Eagles' final drive, and it was really illuminating of just they're running the same plays over and over, and there's no creativity involved, and they're not trying to get guys open, and there's no combinations. It is just bad offense. And we've said that all year. People break down the film. Nate Tice, Charles McDonald, they both have talked. This offense is not good. And I think that's the major change. You have to get Jalen Hurts to a point where he can play better. He's not changing who he is. He's not a Mahomes. He's not Burrow. He's not all these, elite quarterbacks. But obviously you can win with him. And the Eagles need to figure it out because I don't see there being a plan B here. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. You got to figure it out.
Yeah, this is the mutual. I agree with some of the points you both make. Society here, I truly do. I think it is cost prohibitive. It's $100 million right now that they owe him. I don't know that they can. Just saying, I think they owe it to at least kick the tires to see what they can do radically to shake this up. All of us are texting each other during the game. A.J. Brown's final game, Kevin Patula's final game. Not rooting for anyone to lose their job. We get it. The 49ers are a better coach team. Yeah, AJ, I believe, certainly. Juwan Jennings threw.
And I think
Go ahead.
I think with AJ, you don't have to look much farther than New England to see who would start by it. I mean, this is a Patriots team that's clearly in their window. They've got a great team, and I recognize they spent some, but they still got the rookie contract. And when I talk to people who have worked with Mike Vrabel in the past, they definitely think Mike Vrabel would be very happy to have AJ Brown back. And I think AJ Brown would be very happy to have Drake May. And I think it's worth noting, two things can be true, which is that AJ Brown has been very vocal about what's going on in Philadelphia, and also his teammates love him there. I kept asking people around the locker room about AJ Brown on Sunday night because I'm like, you know what, AJ skipped out before doing media. He's done this 3-4 weeks. I'm told I wasn't there at the previous games. And so I said, we didn't have a chance to talk to AJ after the game. How would you describe his passion? And do you feel like the outside perception of his passion is consistent with the way you guys see it? And teammates did not feel like it was. I mean, I had Cooper DeJean who was telling me that we know that he is going to be the guy joking around with us when it's time to joke around, but he's going to fire us up and pick us up when the offense isn't working. And Jordan Mailata was talking about we need that fire and passion and grit, and he's been playing through injury and he's always been available. So I'm not saying that A.J. Brown is going quietly into the night. Clearly he's not, but I do not have a concern that A.J. Brown would be a problem on his next team, particularly if it's with a coach like Mike Vrabel, who he's already been with before and we already know he respects.
You know how good he would look as a 49er in Kyle Shanahan's system? Granted, there's no way they're going to trade him to the 49ers, but that would be just bonkers. He'd look great. A lot of places he can still play. By the way, he also did not have a good game. He also dropped, well, one, I think, official drop, but two, another one that he should have had, where if he gets them, these downfield numbers, the explosives, and they did not have an explosive in the passing game, the numbers for Jalen Hurts look a lot better. And speaking of numbers, I'm fully aware that Jalen Hurts had his a career high in passing touchdowns during the regular season. So there was plenty of good there. I'm not saying he's the sole reason that the season ended early. I'm just saying no one's surprised it ended early. And Kyle Shanahan, best coaching job ever for him. Juwan Jennings, like, what a dot. Yes, we know he was a high school quarterback. Great catch by McCaffrey. So many things. I mean, Eric Kendricks working out at UCLA a few weeks ago, for Pete's sake. And there he is knocking the ball down there and winning the game. Can I get one more Robert Saleh cutaway, please? I haven't had enough Robert Saleh cutaways. Can we please get one? One more. Also, I loved Erin Andrews' coat. I'm the one who loved her coat. I mean, yes, everyone's making the Limu Emu jokes. I get it, but I love the coat. Be bold. Make a statement. Tom Brady showing me how to throw the ball in the wind. I learned something. I don't know that it needed as much Twitter love that it got. Oh, my God, Tom Brady reinvented broadcasting because he showed me how to throw a ball in the wind. But I learned something. And I liked it. That's what I love about the playoffs. We all sit here and as a country, watch these games together, experience them together. And when Jori is tweeting a video of, like, I hated to see, like the George Kittle replay, I don't need to see his Achilles popping again. Like, it's awful, right? But Jori, you tweeted the video of, like, the Eagles fans giving him, you know, a warm round of applause while getting carted off. And then America answering back, no, they're not, Jori. That's them applauding that he's out of the game and they don't have to deal with him anymore. That's what I love about playoff football. I can also confirm. I stand
by the fact that I think that they were respecting him. And also,
I think they were as well.
I also stand by the fact that we are better going off through the world, assuming the best in people. And I don't really care if I'm wrong. I'm happy you're assuming that.
Yeah, I think it's great. And Diana Rossini's reporting that a bottle of tequila was sent into the locker room for George Kittle.
And also that whole bottle of tequila was gone. That you drink a whole bottle of tequila and a half of football. My goodness. Wow.
By the way, I've done some digging. I can confirm Diana's report about where that bottle of tequila came from. So, yeah. You know what, George Kittle, I hope you come back soon.
And hope you're not too hungover this morning either.
No, look, they have to go to Seattle and now play on a Saturday evening, and Niner fans are outraged. We've got to play in a short week. You shouldn't have to play in a short week. But friends, if there's going to be a game on Monday night, somebody has to play on a short week. Somebody, because the Monday night winner ain't playing on Saturday. That's unfair. So they have to play on Sunday, which means that at least one of the Sunday winners has to play on Saturday. Now, I don't think both Sunday winners should have been forced to play on Saturday. That's what the league did. That's unfair. But 49er fans, or Bills fans for that matter, although they're less vocal with all of this, just so you know, last year the Rams and the Commanders also had short weeks in the divisional round. Rams lost in Philly. Remember, they had to go cross-country for that one. The Commanders won their game on divisional weekend. So as long as there's going to be a Monday night game, wild card weekend, someone's going to have to play on short rest the next week. The Commanders last year were able to survive in advance. It's not the end of the world. They're not trying to screw you. It's just the way the math has to work. Okay? Okay. Coming up next, why that pass that Caleb Williams made on 4th and 8 was quite possibly the greatest play I have ever seen a quarterback make. Also, why Ben Johnson still hates you if you're a Green Bay Packer. That's next on Inside Coverage. It's Inside Coverage on Yahoo, everybody. Hope you had a great wild card weekend. Andrew Siciliano, Jori, Epstein, and Frank Schwab. So, guys, rarely, when watching a game by myself, and by the time we got to the fourth quarter, I had left the bar, I'd come home, I'm watching, this is Saturday evening now, Bears-Packers by myself. Rarely when by myself, when preparing my own dinner, when watching the game, do I scream, wow, oh my God, in my own home, by myself. But that's what I did when Caleb Williams made that play on 4th and 8. It was as good a play as I've ever seen a quarterback make, and I realize the hyperbole that I just laid out there. But in the end, the Bears beat the Packers. Ben Johnson is yelling bleep the Packers in the locker room on Monday morning. When on the podium in Lake Forest, Frank Schwab, he is unapologetic. He said, I don't like that team. Caleb is getting emotional talking about his coach. I mean, if you were to write the 100-year history of the Chicago Bears, I think this is one of the first couple of chapters, granted after the 85 team. I understand that, okay? And then after Gale Sayers and Walter Payton. But this was a transformational moment in the history of one of the NFL's, one of American sports' most proudest franchises.
Absolutely. By the way, I yelled out too when Caleb Williams made that play, but nothing I can repeat here or don't get fired off the podcast today. But there's some expletives of, I could not believe that play. You're right. I don't know if it's the greatest play by a quarterback ever, but I don't think any other quarterback in the NFL could do it. Maybe Josh Allen, the way he contorted his body,
he could do
unbelievable.
It. Only other guy.
There's very few. I mean, unbelievable. Just absolutely amazing. Caleb Williams continues to get better. Look, I love the Ben Johnson stuff. So many people about the handshake afterwards, like, oh, be classier than that. First of all, Packers fans, get over yourselves. Get over yourselves. Don't you remember? I think there was a quarterback a few years ago who scored, did the championship belt thing, and then yelled at Bears fans, I effing own you. You guys love that, didn't you? That's what this rivalry is all about. It goes back to the 60s when Vince Lombardi told his team, hey, if you go beat them, I'll go across the sideline and kick old man Hallis's ass myself. And they went crazy about it. Learn the history of Bears Packers. It is better when the players and the teams don't like each other. This is good for the NFL. The NFL is an absolutely entertaining game between the lines and sometimes horrifically boring outside of the lines because nobody wants to say anything controversial. You don't want to rile up the opponent. You don't want to give them bulletin board material. Ben Johnson's like, screw it. This franchise needs a little bit of swagger. And he came along and said, screw the Packers, not in those words. And I love it because the Bears needed that. This rivalry needed that. The NFL needs this. Sports is better when there's villains, and now Green Bay has a villain. Everybody hates Ben Johnson, just the way Chicago hated Aaron Rodgers for so many years, and hated Vince Lombardi, and hated Brett Favre, and the Packers hated the 85 Bears. And this is good. This is the best rivalry in the NFL. And I love it. I love Ben Johnson injecting energy. It's not just into the rivalry, but the Bears franchise itself. They needed this. They needed a kick in the behind to say, we're not going to be little brother to Green Bay anymore. F the Packers. And that's exactly what they did. That win on Saturday night is one of the biggest wins in Chicago sports history. I guarantee you that. They'll be talking about that for years, and good for the Bears because they've gotten themselves off the mat, and now they're a factor, and now they're a rising team. And it's all because of the confidence of Ben Johnson, I think.
Yeah, I think the Ben Johnson part is so great because there's a difference between hating a person and hating an institution. And so he was like, let's go and just make this institution our enemy, so to say. And I think Matt LaFleur, when this happened initially in his introductory press conference of I'm looking forward to beating Matt LaFleur twice a year, Matt LaFleur was actually like, what? And when people were reaching out to him, he was confused because he and Ben Johnson did not have a personal relationship, is my understanding. But I think that if you're Ben Johnson, you're like, I know that part of this Bears situation is, like you said, fighting those demons, slaying those dragons of how can we get past the Packers. And so even if they had lost last night, I don't think it changes the fact that what Ben was doing works. He wants that to be part of the goal. You have to win in the division. And if this is one of the reasons or ways that he thinks he can motivate his team, he's been shockingly effective with his motivational tactics. And I don't mean shockingly, like I didn't think there was a chance, but we knew what he was as a schematic genius before he got to Chicago. We did not know what he was necessarily as the leader of men, as leader of the entire operation, as opposed to the offense. And that was the part that he had to prove. And yes, winning helps, but I think he has far exceeded expectations on that front. And it's great. We'll have to see what happens next year. Obviously, I know their season isn't over, but we talked about the parallels between this year's Chicago Bears team and last year's Washington Commanders team, which is the idea that it doesn't really matter if you don't beat tough teams in the regular season. If you get enough momentum going, you get enough confidence going, then you can ride it. Now, obviously, Jaden Daniels' health was a big factor in the Commanders this year. It wasn't just a regression that was independent of injury factors. But I think that plays like what Caleb Williams are making are part of this. I do want to ask you guys, though, I agree that Caleb's play in the fourth quarter, that was an incredible throw, the upper body strength, the understanding, the anticipation, etc. It was like 90% skill, 10% luck, though, right? Like, I'm not trying to take away the skill, but do you think there was any degree of luck?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the idea that we're going to be talking about this play. This play will be talked about for generations. Like, kids will tell their kids where they were and the reaction they had when they saw that play. I think he threw him open, but at the same time, yes, there's a little bit of luck there. Sure, there's a little bit of luck to layer it over three guys 30 yards downfield, luck, twisting your hips and jumping in the air like that. He saw Odunze. It's not like he didn't see him. He threw to a spot. And Odunze got there. Like, unbelievable. This game is 21-3 in the fourth quarter. Again, Packers special teams issues here. 21-3 in the fourth quarter, and they found a way to win. I love the anecdote as well with that Ben Johnson showed the team during training camp the 28-3 Super Bowl to remind them that you're going to be in this situation and you're going to have to find a way to look within yourself to come back and win. What's crazy to me is that this is the only way the Bears know how to win, seemingly, down the stretch. Like, it would be nice to blow somebody out every now and then. Like, oh, yeah, we know we're going to get it in the fourth quarter. Like, good Lord, if I were a Bears fan, I don't know that I could handle this. But they find a way every single time. And a year ago, Caleb's not the guy. Jaden Daniels, Bears blew it. Well, now Jaden Daniels, I still believe in, truly, didn't go their way this year in Washington. But Caleb's got something. Completion percentage be damned. He's got something. And now Bears and Rams. And I'm going to tip the cap to Schrager because Peter said this on the air today. I was thinking the same thing this morning. I don't know that Ben Johnson needed to make it personal. He could pick on the bully up the street, the Packers as an organization, as a fan base. But he made it personal. To your point, Jori, Matt was like, wait a minute, I don't know the guy back in August or back in May or February, whatever it was. I don't know the guy. Mike LaFleur is coming to town next week. Sean McVay's best friend is Matt LaFleur. Like, those guys are coming to town. Does it give the Rams any extra motivation? No, not at all. Rams want to win the game. But Frank, did he have to make it personal, even though we love it?
It wasn't just personal, it was orchestrated. You don't go into your first press conference and just happen to say, oh, I've enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. That was absolutely, that was a message to the rest of the Bears. And again, they needed that. This franchise needed it. And you know what it reminds me of? And I'm not trying to compare the two guys yet, but it reminds me a lot of Jimmy Johnson. He came in, that Cowboys team stunk. It was terrible. But you know what Jimmy did? He did not care what anybody thought about him. He would rip everybody. He guaranteed a win at one point over the 49ers. And he said, well, now my guy's got to back it up. He knew exactly what he was doing, and so does Ben Johnson. And that's why I really, like Jori, you said it perfectly. I knew he was great X's and O's. Everybody knew that. Very, very smart offensive guy. I had no idea he had this in him, where you are completely changing the tone of an entire organization. And also, just by the way, you are in an entertainment business, and this is really entertaining. The first time the Packers and Bears meet next year, there's so much extra juice for that because of what Ben Johnson's doing, and I love it. I love everything about it. So did he need to make it personal? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not like he punched him in the face or something. Like, we're just talking about a little trash talk. take a cue from the NBA, which does this every day, and I love it. There's nothing. Is it personal? Yeah, sure, because he called him out by name, but I don't think he's like, cutting his tires or anything in the parking lot. This is just good sports trash.
He would totally cut his tires. I'm here for it, and
I love every bit of it. Maybe, you never know.
I mean, the Packers still sing this polka in the parking lot at Lambeau Field. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. Yeah.
It's a great rivalry. And it's been so one-sided for so long. Packers fans don't know how to react to it. They don't. As somebody from Wisconsin, I know a ton of Packers fans. They are losing their minds right now. And I just feel like you've had 30 years to be on the high horse here. Like, get knocked down a peg. It's okay. Like, this is what sports is all about.
So while personally I would be like nervous to say what Ben Johnson said, because I tend to think if you say it out there and you get too arrogant, the football gods or whoever it is come to get you. There's like 2 or 3 things in my life that I'm willing to actually be like, I feel confident about that publicly. That said, I think that we can get back to this. If you are Ben Johnson and you are saying this, you're not saying I'm going after this person. I think what he meant is I'm going after the Packers head coach. And when I say this, I think back to when I was at a Cowboys at Patriots game, and it was either the last year or the second to last year of Jason Garrett's tenure. And Jerry Jones told us after the Cowboys lost at the Patriots, I didn't have the coaching advantage tonight. He was saying, I knew that the edge was on the other side. Now, granted, that wasn't the hottest of takes with Bill Belichick, but he still said it, and he said it publicly, and he said it right after Jason Garrett had lost. And it was kind of we knew that after that Jason Garrett was not going to be the coach much more. I think what Ben Johnson is trying to tell Packers fans is not only are we as a team going to beat the Packers as a team, but I as a coach am going to out-coach Matt LaFleur as a coach, who is one of the respected coaches not only in the division, but the entire NFL. And so, yes, it was personal, but I think he was also saying, I want to be an edge for you. I don't just want this team to be an edge.
Yeah, and it worked. And the other time that I screamed, oh my God, was on the game-winning touchdown to DJ Moore. As soon as he pumped it to the flat, I yelled, he's got it! Because you knew it was there. We've seen the play before. Browns ran the same thing this year. Believe that with Dylan Gabriel. Faked the screen, hit the seam, not the 9 on the outside. But the Bears had run it before as well, clearly, a couple of weeks ago, and they ran it there, and it worked. That's coaching. That's setting something up early and then running it late. Kyle Shanahan does it. The good ones do it. Ben Johnson does it. Kevin Stefanski, Liam Cohen, like you set things up, right? And it worked. Yay, Bears. All right, speaking of Liam Cohen, how about Josh Allen of the Bills? They go into Jacksonville and they beat the Jaguars, who had been on a heater. They had won 8 straight games. The point differential in their 8-game winning streak comes out to an average margin of victory of 19. But the Bills go in there and they win a road playoff game for the first time since the 1992 AFC Championship game. That was Josh Allen's first career playoff win, in which he had to rally and get a touchdown and win it in the 4th quarter. The Bills were just good enough. They were good enough because they turned Trevor Lawrence over a couple of times, even though he threw 2 pretty touchdowns, even though the Bills really couldn't run against the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. Because Josh Allen is a Marvel character. He is Superman. I know that's a different comic universe. I don't speak that language, but I understand it. Don't push back. They have Josh Allen, and that is why they won. I think Jacksonville's building something. I am not going to heap praise on Liam Cohen on a podium and throw him flowers. Please, I don't want to have that conversation right now, but he has something there. The future is certainly bright in Jacksonville, but the Bills simply have one of the top 5 human beings playing the game. And Frank, that's why they won. They won despite all their injuries, despite the fact that they don't have much of a downfield pass game, but Josh made something happen, despite the fact that Jacksonville had the crowd and everything going in their favor. The Bills still in the end had Josh Allen.
Yeah, I fight back all the time about the quarterback-centric analysis of the NFL when people just look at the quarterback and say, well, that guy won, that guy lost. Like, I think that's dumb, but Josh Allen is that dude. Like he tips the field in their favor. This was a quality win. Anybody who, and I think by now nobody really thinks this, but anybody who thought Jacksonville was a fluke at all, no. Jacksonville is one of the best teams in the NFL from at least a quarter point of the NFL season on. It was a legitimate team, and this was a high quality win for the Bills, and it just reinforces their confidence. I think even going to Denver this week, where they say, whatever happens, it doesn't matter because we got number 17. And he gives us a chance in every game. And they have such confidence in him. I don't remember really the last time, maybe Elway in the 80s, where a franchise was just so lifted up on one guy's shoulders. Aaron Rodgers was awesome. He had awesome teammates around him. Same with Patrick Mahomes, having a Hall of Fame coach with him. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Brett Favre had Reggie White. Continue on. How many guys have just carried a franchise like this where the franchise just says, we don't know that we have very good players. We know where we got our flaws, but we got the quarterback. It reminds me of Elway in the 80s with the Broncos before Shanahan and Terrell Davis got there. It's impressive. Josh Allen played almost perfectly. He didn't make many mistakes at all. Just kept making play after play. And I said coming in, I thought the Bills were the most interesting team coming into the playoffs because they could have gone one and done. I wouldn't have been surprised. They could go win a Super Bowl and I wouldn't be surprised. And it's all because of one guy. Josh Allen's amazing. Glad we get to watch him play for another week, honestly.
Yeah, I believe in the Bills' ability to make it to the Super Bowl game. Obviously, we'll have to see when they get there what they can do, but I think that this is a team that has more of a recipe than maybe they've had in recent years, and I recognize it as an up-and-down season for them, but I do think James Cook and Josh Allen and some of what their defense has been doing recently with the takeaways, like give your offense a couple more chances. That's really all they need. We were all sitting in the press box before the Eagles game started watching the end of that game, and when they had that tush push that ended up going, it was like 4th and 1, and it went for 10 yards, and they nearly scored a touchdown, ended up going right short of it. That was definitely, it was one of those times where you don't cheer in the press box. We're not supposed to cheer, but like everyone just started laughing because it was a hilarious play objectively, regardless of who you were rooting for.
Can I jump in on that real quick, Jori?
Yeah.
Real quick. So my reaction, and I was also kind of laughing. My first thought was they fought so hard, they meaning the league and some others, to get rid of the tush push last year at the league meetings, and it survived. Obviously, not as much of a factor this year with the Eagles. But I went, all right, what if I told you a year ago that Josh Allen being carried 10 yards into the end zone to the wild card route is actually going to be the play that gets the tush push banned? Because that was just silly. Like
the Bills
you're
wanted
just
it banned. The Bills are one of the teams against it.
Into the end zone, like he just got married, right? And we're doing Hava Nagila here.
It was a whole. Yeah, but I do think there's an element of guys like Josh Allen, and in my opinion, Jalen Hurts, sounds like based off the show, we might have different opinions on that. They're going to figure out how to do these sneaks whether or not they're being pushed. Like those two guys are going to figure it out anyway. What I think we should remember about Josh Allen, which is why I've been so confident the Bills are going to keep winning in these playoffs, is when I was doing my MVP voting this year, and I know we're not allowed to say who we voted for publicly, there were people who were still like, well, what about Josh Allen? Because I had coaches and execs telling me they were still more afraid of playing Josh Allen than they were playing Drake May or Matthew Stafford. They weren't saying that he necessarily had the most consistent performance of the three this year, and they weren't saying that he was the only option that should be considered, but they said, if you are going to tell me which quarterback do I not want to play, it's Josh Allen because I fear how he can dominate the game. And I think back to the way that you've explained your power rankings, Frank, and you say, well, if I'm going to put these two teams against each other on neutral ground, who do I trust more? And when we talk to these when I talk to these sources and I'm asking them, they're like, well, if you put Josh Allen on the team that the other two were on, or these guys on the team that Buffalo is on, do you think that Josh Allen makes the Rams and the Patriots better? And do you think the others make the Bills better? And if that's the case, then if that's your science, which is not the only science, do you give it to Josh Allen? Now, again, I get that he won it last year, and I get that most valuable to your team in this season is not always the same, but I do think that the league still views Josh Allen at like the peak of his ability and the peak of his threat, even if he's had games where he got a little injured or a little banged up or wasn't fully consistent on the turnovers.
It's a schoolyard thing. If you're picking quarterbacks, there's not a soul alive who would pick Matthew Stafford or Drake May ahead of Josh Allen. I'm sorry, Patriots fans. I'm sorry, Rams fans. Your quarterbacks are awesome too. You might win a Super Bowl, but I don't think there's a reasonable person who's not biased here who wouldn't pick Josh Allen first in a schoolyard if you're just picking teams like that.
Yeah.
I know when I asked that question to some sources in the process, they were like, well, Drake's younger, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, are we trying to get them for like 20 years or the next year or two? Because
Right.
Yeah, and the Jaguars pounded him. I mean, he took some shots, especially on some of those downfield shots. He took shots on downfield shots, but his quick game was great. He got the ball to Khalil Shakir whenever he needed. James Cook got, I don't say shut down. Jaguars have the #1 rush defense in the NFL, and it showed up. It did the job. I mean, Anthony Campanelli is going to get some head coaching interest. He already has. He's more than just a Hard Knocks clip with a bunch of F-bombs from a year ago. He's a good coach. But obviously, Josh Allen still made some plays. I was stunned that the Bills didn't try to waste more time getting into the end zone. And Trevor Lawrence gave it back on the first play from scrimmage. I thought we collectively as a football player were robbed of a down the field drive at the end of the game for the Jaguars. At least get it across midfield and make it interesting.
Cam Little for 68 yards for the win. Yeah.
Yeah. Cam Little, who missed a 54-yarder earlier in the day, which might have been the most stunning thing of Wild Card Weekend. A miss from Cam Little from 54 yards. I mean, that's like an extra point for him. That's easy gas. But alas, no, the Jaguars are done. And it also means, from a very selfish perspective here, that the Browns' second first-round pick, the one that they got in the Travis Hunter deal, is now locked in at number 24. So the Browns are picking 6 and 24. If anything here, I'm always going to weave the Browns into it. No, I'm not selfish. It's just the fact. All right, let me throw this out there. Teasing the next segment. If the Bengals are accused of wasting Joe Burrow's prime, then the Chargers should be ... We'll answer that question next on Inside Coverage. It's Inside Coverage on Yahoo. Andrew Siciliano, Jori, Epstein, and Frank Schwab. We have 2 more games to get to. And again, for the record, we're recording this before the Texans beat the Steelers at Acrisure. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just trying to wish it into existence. And if it doesn't happen, then I'll eat my crow tomorrow. Okay. So the Patriots on Sunday Night Football at home get a big win. The Patriots are back. Yay, Drake May is good. And they beat up on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. The final score, 16-3. That's all the Chargers could muster on the road. Was 3 points. Justin Herbert was sacked 6 times. He was hit 11 times. Herbert was hit, keep this in mind, 129 times in the regular season. So he was hit this year 140 times, and he didn't play Week 18. They sat him out for his own safety. Justin Herbert is now 0 for 3 in the postseason. Not all of them his fault. Obviously, it's not his fault that Brandon Staley's defense wilted a couple of years ago in the second half in Jacksonville, although he could have made some plays in the fourth quarter. Herbert didn't play well last year in the wild card round when they lost in Houston. The Chargers have now lost 4 consecutive playoff games, the 3 I just mentioned, and then in 2018 in the divisional round with Phillip Rivers. Chargers were held to 207 yards. Their running backs and Amari and Hampton tried to go, but couldn't. 30 yards on 12 carries. After the game, Jim Harbaugh was given repeated opportunities, Jori, to endorse Greg Roman as the OC next year. He would not do that. Today, as the Chargers are cleaning out their lockers, Mekhi Becton, just one man on the offensive line, said that he never really figured out what they were trying to do offensively the entire year and never felt comfortable. He's just one man here. But if people in Cincinnati are hammering Duke Tobin last Friday, the Bengals de facto GM, about wasting Joe Burrow's window, at least they made it to a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert now 0 for 3 in the postseason. The Chargers tried on their offensive line this year, Becton being one of those pieces, and obviously both tackles got hurt. That is a huge part of this story. But they seemed lost offensively. Lost yesterday. Are the Chargers wasting Justin Herbert's championship window?
Yeah, I think to me, you went to the crux of it, Andrew, which is that they got him the tackles. They paid Rashawn Slater. I understand that you need to have plans when you get injured. They got Mekhi Becton. I don't feel like the Chargers have been sitting on their hands and not trying to come up with solutions. I think that they have drafted receivers for him that were making an impact, and they have gotten those tackles and tried to figure it out. So I don't view this as something that they are being unreasonable about and slow about.
I'm going to give you an off-the-wall take here. I think maybe some of Justin Herbert's playoff failures have to do with Justin Herbert being objectively horrible in 3 playoff games. Like, why do we ever criticize Justin Herbert? I don't get it. I don't understand why he is treated differently than every other quarterback. Like, Jori, you covered Dak Prescott with all the nonsense about, oh, well, he's just a stat pad or he can't win in the playoffs. And Josh Allen last week was getting ripped before they even started playing the playoffs. Like, oh, if Josh Allen doesn't win a Super Bowl, he's a failure. We do this with quarterbacks. That's how it is. That's how it goes. Quarterbacks get criticized getting out of bed in the morning. Except Justin Herbert. I don't understand why. He could have done more in that Jaguars game when they completely collapsed. He was awful against the Texans last year. And he was bad last night. He had 93 passing yards with about 5 minutes left in the game. Yes, he got hit a lot late in the game, but he missed a lot of throws, and he just has not played well in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I like Justin Herbert, 27-year-old. He's got a lot of time. I'm just curious. It's a weird phenomenon to me that this has been this way this whole career, where no matter every other quarterback, Kirk Cousins or just Jordan Love or whoever you want to name, gets criticized unfairly. And then Justin Herbert plays 3 horrific playoff games, and everybody's like, it's not his fault. It's the Chargers. They aren't doing enough to help him out. Like, why does he get treated differently than every other quarterback? Justin Herbert played terribly yesterday. He was bad. Yeah, he got hit a lot behind a bad offensive line. But he never gets credit. He's the Teflon quarterback, and I don't get why he gets a pass when nobody else does.
It's a good point. You guys both make good points, and it is an interesting dynamic here. For the record, Jori, I agree with you. They went out. They've bolstered the offensive line, obviously, with big draft capital. They drafted Amari and Hampton, a first-round running back this year who clearly had trouble staying healthy. Trey Harris is a nice find here, I believe, 3rd-round pick at wide receiver. So I don't think they have failed him at all. They went out and they spent the money on Jim Harbaugh, and he has, through all these injuries, gotten them here. It is a fantastic coaching effort by Jim Harbaugh. Fantastic. A lot of it is on Justin Herbert. And to answer your question, Frank, I think people are reluctant to blame him because of their natural snark and skepticism of the Chargers organization.
Could be.
Oh, it can't be Herbert's fault. It's the Chargers' fault. No, they've put a lot of pieces around him.
And the defense.
But now, and the defense here.
Sure, I was only talking about the offensive investments they made because so much of the conversation last night was about where the offense went wrong and where the offensive line wasn't able to protect him and how much he's gotten hit this year. But like the defense was a playoff caliber defense all year, including against Drake May. I mean, they made Drake May look more mortal than anyone had all season.
One of the biggest stories of the offseason is whether the Chargers can hold on to Jesse Minter. Like, Jesse Minter was awesome this year.
Well, that's something too. So let's assume they're going to lose Jesse Minter. Let's just assume. Could be wrong, but he's getting head coaching interviews.
If he comes back,
let's assume they lose him. You're going to have a new OC. You're definitely going to have a new OC. I don't know that for certain, but the way Harbaugh's talking afterwards and the way the performance was last night. So you're going to have 2 new coordinators next year. You hope the O-line stays healthy, but other teams have fought through O-line injuries. I mean, Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines we've ever seen, and he found a way to do it. Other teams have battled through offensive line issues over the years to get there. For Pete's sake, the Browns won a playoff game with a guy named Blake Hance who came into the huddle week 18 and introduced himself to his teammates. All right. Other teams have figured it out. The Chargers couldn't figure it out. Now they got there, obviously, but you needed more from Justin Herbert last night. Let's give Mike Vrabel credit. Let's give the Patriots defense credit as well, because Robert Spillane, the linebacker, the former Raider who's playing now for the Patriots, had a great year, said after the fact that he had Charger offensive players coming up to him during and after the game saying, we have no idea what your coverages are. Like, we can't figure this out. And it was obvious. They couldn't figure it out. And it's a tough one here for the Chargers because, look, there is a battle here in this market for ticket dollars, for the hearts and the social media follows of the kids in this market that didn't have a football team for 20 years. Rams advance, Chargers one and done yet again. And that stings in their building. Even though they made the big splash and got Jim Harbaugh, it has worked. He has put a good product on the field. But you're one and done, and you've got the young quarterback, the young cool kid quarterback. It just didn't work. We still both believe in Harbaugh, right? The two of you?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
and I believe in the Chargers front office, too. That's my thing. It's like you started this segment by saying, are the Chargers wasting Justin Herbert's prime the way that the Bengals are wasting Joe Burrow's? And I don't think that waste is a word I would use for either of them. Joe Burrow's getting hurt.
I don't either.
I get that their defense isn't great, and I get that people want to go after the offensive line. They signed the receivers he wanted. They got Trey Hendrickson back in the building. Like, I think neither of these teams is just sitting on their hands, even if the results are not what you'd want, and particularly for the actually for both teams, injuries are not what you want. So are they losing their window? They might lose their window, but I don't think that's the same as wasting it and just not doing what you need to do to get the job done.
I agree.
I'm telling you, if the Chargers can get Minter back and their 2 offensive tackles back, they might win a Super Bowl next year. I thought if they would have just kept their offensive tackles healthy this year, I thought they would have been the best team in football.
If Justin Herbert
it's still
plays
there
well
for them,
postseason.
but man, Minter is such a big deal. He's such a big deal this offseason.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the Rams. I still think the Rams are the best team. Well, the 2 best teams in the NFL, the Rams and the Seahawks. All right? They don't play this week. They almost played this week, but they don't play this week. We'll just leave that at that. Rams have to go to Chicago. Rams almost didn't get out of Carolina. They're up 14-3 or whatever it was early, and I think I tweeted this is going to be a boat race. It clearly was not, because give Bryce Young credit. I think he erased all doubt about a 5th-year option. Bryce Young played fantastic football. Coulda, woulda, shoulda beaten the Rams, but in the end, Matthew Stafford proved his MVP worthiness and marched his team down the field, threw a beautiful ball to Colby Parkinson, made a beautiful catch there in front of the pylon, and the Rams get out of there with a win, despite the fact Puka Nacua dropped what could have been a walk-in touchdown late in the second quarter, despite the fact that I disagree with a 4th down decision that Sean McVay made in the first half after a muffed punt that let the Panthers back in the door. But the Rams survived. Frank, do we feel any differently about the Rams after a closer than expected victory in Carolina?
Kind of, because this slump continues. If we remember, they collapsed against the Seahawks in week 16. And then after week 17, they lose to the Falcons. Sean McVay's upset. He comes out and says, my starter's got to play next week because we're not playing good football. I don't agree with that, but that's what he said. You could tell Sean McVay knew my football team's not playing well right now. They go out in week 18 against the Cardinals, and they didn't play well in that game either. They pulled away in the 4th quarter against a really, really bad Cardinals team. They didn't play great there. And then you go to Carolina, who's 8-9. You almost lose that. This is now basically 4 games in a row, 3.5 pretty much, that the Rams have not looked like a Super Bowl favorite. And I believe in the Rams. I love their talent, and Puka's awesome. I mean, he's just incredible joy to watch, and Stafford, probably the MVP and all this kind of stuff. McVay's a genius, et cetera, et cetera. But simply put, they're not playing very good football and haven't for a month, and that does worry me. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that for the Panthers, this is the type of thing where even if there's not moral victories, there are victories on which you can build a foundation the next year, or games, I should say, on which you can build a foundation the next year. And the Panthers absolutely had that in the way that Bryce Young played, in the way that the team played. But on the Rams side, I agree. Momentum matters, because this is not a sport where you're playing 4 out of 7 in each round of the playoffs, and the best team is increasingly likely to win because you're eliminating some of that probabilistic randomness. I can't even say it, probabilistic. But this is not necessarily where you just have the best team always win. You sometimes have the team that is riding it and getting in the moment. And I think the Rams are kind of not in that moment. Now, they're still talented enough on both sides of the ball, and particularly with Matthew Stafford, even if he's got that sprained finger, that I feel like they can do it. But do I think that they're sure to? Yes, they're a more talented team than the Chicago Bears. Over the course of the season, I liked them better than the Bears. But when they go to the Bears this weekend and the Bears are hot, I don't know, the Bears defense was a question mark during the season, but they did pretty well against the Packers. Why can't they do that against the Rams?
They totally could. This is me. Hold on. And by the way, whatever you just said there, Jori, I did one earlier with Caleb Williams that said it was the most, whatever. I created what was it? Because it wasn't English. Did you catch that? It was
with
most something. Yeah, about that 4th down play, or about that game, I said it was like the most, whatever it was. It was not English. And I immediately wanted to jump in and cut you guys off and correct it. I'm looking at the forecast Sunday in Chicago, high of 21, low of 8. 45% chance.
Los Angeles weather right there, huh?
Of nieve. 45% chance of snow.
You remember
it's
that
like LA
sun
weather,
that
but
Andrew was bragging about earlier in the show? I don't know about that. That's Chicago.
Rams, yeah.
Just so you know, I want like the Rams, if they want to do an early morning workout, they can get ready for it this week, because I got up and worked out this morning at like 6 a.m. That's not a flex. It was 46 degrees. 46 degrees here. So people are frightened. Wow. It's cold in the morning. The Rams, if they want that early morning workout, could get ready for Soldier Field. Not really, unless they bring in a snow machine from Mammoth. That's not going to happen. I'm mildly concerned about the Rams, regardless. Whenever this game is played on Sunday, and as we sit here, we still don't know the start times nor the networks. It's going to be legendary. And I don't mean like legendary. I mean, this game's going to be legendary. It's that good. I want to go. I might go. I'm thinking of going. Although I am so happy that I don't have to get on a plane for like 2 weeks. I'm probably not going to go. Like, you know how glorious it was to sit on my couch yesterday morning? Glorious. Do we have time for one more thing before we go? I think we do. Jori, you want to go first?
Let's do it. So I'm at the Eagles-Niners game, and I am watching their trick play touchdown. And it took me a second to be like, wait, Brock Purdy didn't throw that touchdown. Jawan Jennings threw that touchdown. And our friend, I am pulling this up.
Greg Rosenthal.
Yes, our friend, Greg Rosenthal, had an amazing tweet of Jawan Jennings as a 5-star dual threat quarterback recruit, ranked just ahead of Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. So on one hand, I was like, Jawan Jennings, how did you pull that off? On the other hand, hey, there was a time when he was above a lot of first-round quarterbacks.
Yeah, and what a catch, by the way, by Christian McCaffrey, sitting there with a San Francisco Giants fan and watching the game. And he was like, that's Willie Mays like. I'm like, nah, about that. But it was a nice catch. What do you got, Frank?
I'm going to disagree with you on something you said earlier in the show, Andrew, maybe because I didn't wake up at 6 a.m. to work out and I'm in a bad mood. I don't know. But the NFL needs to be better with scheduling. They have gotten really lazy the past few years at not looking into competitive disadvantage spots. They do this often in a regular season, more often than usual. And this week, the 49ers have every gripe in the world. The 49ers play on Sunday on the East Coast. Now they got to play the early game in Seattle. Sometimes it's unavoidable, like the Monday night game. Like they're not going to make the winner of that play on Saturday. This was just easy. You moved the Bears and Rams, who both played on Saturday, to this Saturday. You moved the Seahawks 49ers to Sunday. Now, why would they not do that? Well, the answer to that question is always the television partners. Whenever you ask a question of why did this league schedule this way, the answer is always television. But at some point, the NFL needs to stand up and say, hey, television partner, it doesn't really matter if you get Bears 49ers or if you get Seahawks or if you get Bears Rams or if you get Seattle 49ers. 30 million people are going to watch this. Maybe 30.5 million people are going to watch this. You'll be fine either way. They just got lazy with this. It was completely avoidable by the NFL, and this is a trend for them. We see it a lot in the regular season. Now we see it in the postseason when it absolutely positively should not happen because there are only 4 games. Shame on the NFL for letting this happen. 49ers fans, you have a gripe here. You absolutely can complain as much as you want, no matter how much Andrew Siciliano says you shouldn't.
I agree and I disagree. I agree that they have a gripe, but I would offer this. Do Bills fans and whomever wins Monday night also have a gripe? Because they're also playing a short week.
That was unavoidable. I think that was unavoidable. One of those teams had to play on Saturday. You're right. But on the NFC side,
at least one of the Sunday winners
which is an argument,
has to play Saturday.
Yes.
At least one of them has.
This was unavoidable. The NFC side was very easy. You had 2 teams win on Saturday. Put them on Saturday this week. Somebody had to play on Saturday from the AFC who plays a short week. It wasn't going to be the Monday night game. So,
but Frank,
I'm with you. There should have only been 2 teams playing on a short week. There are 3. I'm with you. There should only be 2, but I don't know why the Niners are any more special than the other 2, I guess is my point. Jori?
I think that the crux of this is that these decisions are not typically made off player health and safety first and foremost, nor are they typically made off competitive equity first and foremost. They are made off what is going to give the networks the most pride and joy and what is going to make the league the most money. And so as long as you have that, you are not going to change this.
I'm arguing with that. That's what my argument is. It should be about, hey, guys, you're going to get a good game either way. We're not giving you like some MAC game. Like this isn't Akron versus Buffalo. We're giving you a really good game either way. Let's let the 49ers.
The Niners only have a 90-minute flight, not even to Seattle. So, just saying. Niners are more, Bills are very banged up as well. Anyway, I digress. Here's my one more thing. I have often been at odds with Philadelphia fans over the years. They like to scream and yell at fans and sometimes at players and sometimes berate the players they root for and justify it by saying, well, it means more to us. You don't get it. It doesn't mean more to you. It doesn't. You're not that special. Football fans are football fans. Don't think that you're special like Cardinal fans. St. Louis Cardinals. No. You don't have a right to treat other fans and other players like that. You're not so much better than everyone else, but I digress. This little kid, however, local TV in Philadelphia last night warms my heart. Go ahead.
Yes, this was a huge letdown. This was my Christmas present, and I got a loss.
Oh, no. You probably would have rather had Cole, huh?
Yeah, probably. I'm feeling two of two things. A, I want A.J. Brown packing his bags, and I want him somewhere else that is not here. I love you, A.J., but, like, you can't make those drops in that game. And I also want Kevin Patullo flipping burgers at, like, the local McDonald's or something. I don't care.
Why do you say that?
Whenever he's an offensive coordinator, it's like he's flipping burgers. One side, he's cooking. One half, he's cooking. And the other half is completely raw.
Sam?
Wow.
That's good parenting. I could never
raise a family in Philadelphia.
Sam Salvo, like, I don't know who your mom and dad are, but Sam, that's good parenting right there. I love your mom and dad. Like, when are you getting your own For all I know, Sam's got like 1 million views on YouTube. He's got his own podcast. He's his own industry. He's not a businessman. He's a business man. But I love you, Sam. Bless your heart. Do well in school. Study. And one day you're going to be big time. Sam, that is my one more thing. For Jori and Frank, guys, it's been fun. Lots of fun. Let's do it again tomorrow when we will be celebrating a Texans win over the Steelers. I kid.
Can't wait to hear Renegade tonight, Andrew. Can't wait to hear Renegade.
Renegade's overrated.
That's great.
Overrated song. Yeah, it's really overrated. Anyway, enjoy the Monday Night Footballs, friends, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. For Jori, for Frank, I'm Andrew. So long.